So I wanted to start off the event with just a little more information about the Collective Rising Internship Program. The Collective Rising Internship Program is a paid internship where we place undergraduate students at reproductive justice organizations across the country. The program is designed to allow students to experience what it is like to work in and be a part of the reproductive justice movement. During their internship, students develop their leadership and professional skills. They're connected with mentors and they learn how to use their education to make an impact in the world. I have my niece is here with me, so she's gonna yell and scream, and she's 1.5, so yeah. um, Right. So the internship is designed to help students develop their leadership and development skills. During the internship, the students are connected with mentors, and then they learn how to use their education to make an impact in the world. So we established the Collective Rising Internship Program in 1999, which makes it 24 years old now. And over the last 2 decades, we've had more than 600 interns and over 100 host sites. And when we first launched the program, all of our interns were from the Pioneer Valley, which is where our offices are located. That was what we had staff capacity to do. But 9 years ago, we were able to open up the program and accept students from all over the country, which is exciting, you know. And then this year, we welcomed 35 students. Every year, we try to welcome 30 to 35 new interns to the organization. And this year, we had 35 students. And tonight, you were going to hear from 4 interns, but I'm still waiting for some more interns to join. Tonight, Flannery's here with us. Flannery was a 2023 Collective Rising intern. And Flannery, if you could introduce yourself. Actually, Christine just joined too, but Flannery, if you could let everyone know your name and pronouns, where you're from, where you interned at, and tell us a little bit about what that organization does.
Hi, thanks. I'm Flannery. I use she, her pronouns. I'm originally from Amory, Mississippi, but I go to school at Mount Holyoke College here in the Pioneer Valley. And I interned this summer at Pro-Choice Ohio in Cleveland, so I'm really all over the place. And their mission is just to ensure reproductive rights for all Ohioans, particularly surrounding abortion rights.
Thank you, Flannery. Christine, I know that you just came on, but if you could tell everyone your name and pronouns and where you're from and where you interned at this summer and a little bit about what that organization does, that would be amazing.
All right. Is it possible for you to go to someone else real quick because I am on the train?
Well,
I mean, it's okay. I can do it on the train, but just like extra noise, and I want to be considerate of that because SEPTA, I'm in Philly, so.
It's fine. You can try to talk.
Okay. Well, my name is Christine. I am originally from Miami. I go to school at the Community College of Philadelphia because I believe in using community resources to get the things that you need instead of going to like large conglomerates. I'm like, let's use what the community has. I was an intern at Power U in Miami again. So I was out in Miami. It's a youth-led organization that centers around reproductive justice politics. I worked with students who were working, essentially getting in the faces of the school district, asking them to not put more cops in their schools, asking for reproductive supplies at their schools and food pantries and stuff. And I was privileged enough to go to the Miami-Dade School District meeting and watch my kids get in the faces of the adults saying, "Stop failing us, give us what we need. You said that we're the future, so treat us like it." I'm like, yeah. So I was getting the kids hyped, which was probably my favorite part.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that over the train noise, Christine. So we can get started, and I would love for the interns to tell us about the most memorable project that they worked on during their internship.
I can go. So there was a lot of memorable things from this summer, but I think the one that stands out the most to me is that Pro-Choice Ohio wanted to publish a report on the crisis pregnancy centers in Columbus. So if you don't know, crisis pregnancy centers are the centers that pretend that they give you access to all different kinds of reproductive options and that they'll counsel you on those options. Particularly, they try to falsely advertise that if you come there, you can get an abortion if you're in need. But in reality, when you go to the crisis pregnancy centers, they try to convince you to keep the pregnancy, and they do that in a lot of different ways. But they tell a lot of truths and then a few lies that are very key lies. And 10 years before this summer, they had published a report on the crisis pregnancy centers in Columbus, Ohio, and they wanted to follow up and see what they were telling people now and how things had changed. And so I actually went undercover into these clinics and was able to hear what they were telling patients. And it was so memorable because I thought it was so important to really put people who are trying to do reproductive justice work in the shoes of people who are facing the issues in that way. And so I was directly, I had to pretend that I didn't know what a crisis pregnancy center was and didn't know anything about the things they were telling me and go in and listen to what they said to me. And I kind of got to feel the nervousness that someone might feel in that position and like the vulnerability there. And that was really impactful and also just impactful for learning what kind of things anti-abortion advocates are telling people. It was very different than when you see clinic protesters who are outright telling you like, if you have an abortion, that's murder. These people are very big on, we'll support you whatever you do, but just so you know, here are these false facts on what your mental health is going to be like after, or what you're like, how easy pregnancy is versus how difficult it is to get an abortion. And seeing firsthand what abortion rights in a somewhat restricted state, somewhat open state, means for the people who are there living it was really fascinating.
I have heard a lot about crisis pregnancy centers, but I could not imagine being someone who has gone to one. So thank you for doing that. Christine, could you share about your most memorable project that you worked on this summer?
Yes, I can. I briefly mentioned it in my introduction when we went to the Miami-Dade School District meeting, and we were literally in these people's faces telling them like, y'all cannot spend this money on these cops in the school. It does not help. And here are all the statistics. I am proof of this, that this does not work. You need to listen to us. And it moved me to the point where I spoke because I was once a student in the Miami-Dade school system from like kindergarten and first grade, and then again, 5th through 7th grade. So I directly knew like what the conditions of the schools were, just in a general sense, not in the sense from the high school perspective. However, I do believe that I just felt so inspired, not only hearing my kids, but hearing parents and other kids a part of other organizations, which made it like really amazing to know that like the kids are in fact all right. And even though the kids may not know the technical academic jargon, they know exactly what the hell they're talking about because they live it for 8 hours a day. Because it's no different than me trying to tell you what you do for your work when I don't sit there and do it for 8 hours a day. I can read your job description and say, well, I think you do this all day, but it was really great. And another thing is that I was tasked to do political education seminars with the kids. So I had a lot of fun going over things like asking them like, hey, y'all, so what's capitalism? They're like, the fastest way to die. I'm like, you're right. What's respectability? The fastest way to die. I'm like, you're right. Y'all are listening. So that was really fun. And the very last thing that I have them do, because taking care of yourself is so important, is that I have them plan. Oh my gosh, it's so many trains.
Christine, are you still talking or did you mute yourself?
I muted myself because there were like 8 trains coming.
Oh, okay. I was like, she Okay, well, thank you for that.
Okay, my extra thing was my favorite thing about like the most absolute favorite thing that I did with them was because taking care of yourself is so important. I literally had them do a project to plan a vacation for 10 days. They had 10 days, $10,000. They had to pick 3 restaurants to eat at. They had to choose 5 excursions. And my students chose Rio, Reykjavik, and they chose Korea. And they were inspired by like going to Korea because I was an English teacher in Korea. So they were like, oh yeah, I want to eat what you ate. I want to do what you did. So that's one of my favorite things.
I love that you say that and offer that experience, because I feel like one of the biggest things that we say at Collective Power, and one of the biggest things that we believe, is that um, young folks and people who are new to the movement actually are very aware of what they need, and what we need to do to make this world a better place. And their expertise is knowledge is valuable and definitely relevant. So if y'all could tell us like one thing that you learned from your tell us one thing that you learned from your internship experience, and like how that has impacted your future career goals, and or if not a career goal, just your future goals in life. Like how did your internship impact you?
Before I left, I talked a lot to my supervisor at the org about this, about how I was feeling when I was leaving. And prior to this, I had done some abortion rights and reproductive justice work. I run a group on my campus, and I had done organizing in different issues as well. But a lot of that had been very on my own, plus like the people I could gather with me. And I never had a formal experience in an organization like this. And even though I've kind of told people for years, like I would be asked in high school, you know, what are you going to college for? What do you want to do? And I would tell them, I want to be an activist. And people kind of really shrug that off very easily, or they say, how are you going to get paid doing that? Or, you know, what are you going to do? That's, you know, not reasonable. And it was so inspiring to be around not only the people in this org who were so committed to doing the same thing, plus like the fellow collective rising interns and everything, but also there were so many different organizations working on different sides of reproductive justice in Cleveland and in Ohio, and meeting so many people who were so committed to the movement just re-energized me to like keep going for it. And I've come into my senior year very confident that I'm going to be able to keep doing this work, and if it's what I care about, I can keep doing it after school. And it's definitely changed how I approach doing organizing within the club that I run as well. I feel very confident leading them, and I feel that I'm knowledgeable about what it's like to be out there doing it as well. And I can kind of bridge us together a little bit better.
Christine, do you wanna? Is Christine? I think Christine looks like she's frozen. Okay. Well, Christine is frozen.
For sure. I thought we were gonna like.
Okay, I think.
Am I still frozen? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you keep like muting and then unmuting.
Oh, okay, okay. I just wasn't sure if you couldn't hear me. But there are a couple of things that I like learned while I was at Power U. I can say one, I had my own reservations about how the nonprofit industrial complex works. However, I didn't like how 60% of the assumptions that I have were like correct. So I'm like, oh, so y'all really do act like that. Okay, cool. I understand that. That makes sense. But if you like for certain orgs from hearing about like my peers when we had our general meeting, I learned that a lot of orgs that say that they care about marginalized communities, they don't have that said marginalized community running the org, which makes me go, do you really care? Because it's not looking like it. So that's something that I noticed, but that wasn't something that, you know, that I experienced at Power U. Another thing that I realized is that the people want to apply RJ when it's applicable to them and when it's not uncomfortable for them to facilitate growth, because of, you know, which is one of the coordinators always said before a meeting, come as you are, but your principles in your actual life as well as when you are working. It's a little bit frustrating to people who are like Flannery and they're just like, oh no, I want it to be an activist. Like I want to advocate for people. And I want to advocate for people via the harm reduction way as an attorney, because I like traveling and, you know, I give a damn about the world and the people in it. So it's like, it's really important to me, because a lawyer in itself is an activist, but it's an activist using state tools to be an activist. You can get into how effective using state tools to be an activist can be, but that's not the topic of this conversation. But I do believe that on the grand scheme of things, it's just important. So when you are in nonprofit spaces or RJ spaces, to definitely come as you are, but set the goal of transforming. And I definitely transformed, some against my will because of frustration and irritation, and being neurodivergent just made it like, why are y'all acting like that? That is making me itchy in so many places. Please stop. Like, that is not productive. But I understand. I was there as an intern, not as an executive director, so I can't really sit there and like dictate. However, what I can do is give I notice, I feel, I want, I need statements, because then they can't get mad. So, and from doing that, I got all the things that I needed. So, excuse me, if it's one thing that I find really annoying is that some people just didn't get that. I was able to get that after a little bit of being a little scruffy and fighting for it. But saying what you need will allow you to get what you need. So if you see a need, fill a need. And there are people there that can help you. So I just watched Robots the other day and they said that phrase. So, but yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yes, robots teaching everybody what they need to know. Could y'all also, like, this is a little bit off script, but if y'all could give an intern, a future intern, any advice, so what would you give them?
Advocate for yourself. Don't let them play in your face. You were there for that one specific thing. Do not allow these people to forsake you and tell you you need to do it. If it's not outlined in what Collective Rising told us to do, say no. The world is not going to burn because you said no. You understand it.
I agree. I think I got really also caught up a little bit in all the projects that were going on, which were really fun, but I wish I had made more space to take time to develop my own kind of projects, which like there was supposed to be space for, and I think just kind of there was a lot going on in terms of they had an abortion rights related election going on while I was there, and then they have another one that they started working on immediately after that's coming up in a couple weeks. So I think that just kind of got through, but I think every time I communicated with them, they were really receptive to that. And so I agree about like making your place there known.
Yes, advocating for yourself. It's something that I'm, even in my grown age, I always say in my grown age because I feel like I'm grown, but I'm really not that grown. But me, I'm in a grown age, I'm still learning how to navigate that. And I love that y'all are learning so early. Thank you to this internship for teaching y'all that. Thank you for y'all to y'all for being so amazing and standing your ground. Y'all, I love it.
I want to make it clear that I've always been a stand my ground person, because you're not going to treat me like some punk. That's what you're not about to do. You're not going to do that. I learned how to fight in Baltimore City. You're not going to treat me like a punk. And if I have questions, I'm going to ask them. Also, if you got questions, ask them. The world is not going to burn because you have a question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. This is coming from someone who was a writing tutor at a college level and an English tutor and an English teacher in Korea. There is no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know, and make the attempt to know, and asking a question is the first thing, because leading with curiosity rather than assumption will get you all the things that you need. So always ask a question. It don't matter if it's going to hold up a meeting. Ask the question, because more times than not, someone else wanted to ask, but they were too scared to do it.
Definitely someone wanted to ask, but they were too scared to do it. That's yes, Christine. I want to open up the call now for questions. For questions from the audience. If you have a question, you can feel free to unmute or write it in the chat.
I don't think this is a question. Hey, y'all, this is Aura, but like just a reflection from what you guys just shared as somebody who is obviously an intern in 2020, and now I work at an organization who currently takes collective power interns. It definitely made me think back to like, how can I be supportive of the next incoming interns that we have next year? And like I was in a much different place in my like personal organizing journey when I was at Collective Power. And like what did I, like just thinking back to what I got from my experience there, what I maybe wanted as an intern, and then like making, I just hope that the next cycle of interns at you guys' respective orgs get to benefit from what the feedback that you've given them. And I'm also taking this like back to me personally, because I'm like, I work at the org. I can make sure because they may not, like, for example, our collective interns that we just had, Janelle and Tyra, I got to work with them some, but because I like went out of my way to. So like if, just because their personal projects may not have anything to do with me or my role at the org, but I could still be a resource to them. And I definitely didn't like leverage my collective power. I think they know because I told them, but I wasn't like, yeah, because I'm a collective power alum, I'm gonna do all this, but maybe next cycle I'm gonna try. But yeah, appreciate you guys for sharing.
I love that. Definitely, it takes a village. Just as a community effort, and everyone can impact and help out with interns. Everyone can make or break an internship for an intern. So that's so dope. Does anyone else have a question? I love to hear from folks.
I'll answer the question that was in the chat where someone said, I love to hear from folks how your understanding of reproductive justice have changed or expanded over the course of the internships. I would say again, a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, the kids know exactly what they're talking about, and the adults need to sit down and listen to the kids. Like, Aura, you mentioned Jonelle, and I love Jonelle because that's something that she pointed out, that it's a whole bunch of like mid to late 20 somethings and not really a lot of like 18 and 19 and early 20 something that are like able to really share their experiences because of whatever barriers are in place. But it's like the kids need to be included in some sort of way, shape, or form because this is affecting them as well. And children have the words, even if their vocabulary is only 500 words, they have the words, the vocabulary to describe your suffering. And if you don't say anything about your suffering, people can kill you and say that you enjoyed it. And you don't want that. So, and I think having the words to advocate for yourself as soon as possible ensures that you have a higher quality of life and you're able to advocate not only for yourself, but for others as well without draining yourself or setting yourself ablaze to keep others warm. So I think that's super important.
I don't have much to add. I definitely felt very prepared by collective power for reproductive justice in a theoretical way, at least. But I do think that going to the internship and meeting all these people who had their own unique experiences with it really elevated the part of it of which reproductive justice rather than reproductive rights really tries to get at how each person is going to experience these issues. And I think seeing that made me realize that using that framework and bringing all of these people in who have had all of these different experiences with it is the way that is going to move all of us forward.
Does anyone else have a question?
I have a question. My name's Stella. My friend Angie's here too. But I guess we were just wondering, sort of like how did you choose where you were placed or where you went or like what state you went to?
I can't answer this first. So I'm originally from Miami, and I had Miami, New York, and Atlanta on my list as I live in Philadelphia. So it would be cool to be able to go to New York a bunch of times because I love New York City. But Miami had a special place in my heart as I was there between 5th and 7th grade. And I feel like those are very formative years. And I feel like being in Miami like raised me and shaped me. And I feel like if I was able to be in a position to help raise and shape whether it's a young person's mind or someone to have a positive experience, or even to just be privy about what capitalism is, or even knowing that respectability hurts your heart and your brain, and just being able to share that with them, that's something that I just felt like, yeah, I'm gonna go out to Miami because you don't really have like, if there was no need for me in Miami, I would have gone to my second choice, which was in New York City. But they were like, nope, we want her, we like her essay, we like this, we like that. So it's like, I just chose it based off of like me wanting to be in a new place with fresh eyes because I've never been to Miami as an adult. So it's not to say I wouldn't have wanted to go to a place in Louisiana or anything like that. It's just I read about the organizations and the things that they care about. So that's another reason that tied into my choice. So consider that and do research on all the orgs because you never know. Population control, like in the name, will make you go, ah, ah. But then when you read about it, you're just like, oh, okay, never mind. That's just the word. That's just the word that they needed to use to describe that. Because that was me with some of the orgs. I'm like, I don't know about this name here. But then when I read it, I'm like, okay, never mind.
I'm happy to add on as well. Yeah, so I'm the program manager. Janessa is also here, and she's the program coordinator of the Collective Rising internship program. I would say it's a bit of an intensive process. We have like partners and host sites that we collaborate with, and then we ask students within their application to select their top 3 to 5 host sites that they would like to be placed in. And after the interview, based off of like the information we gather and like, you know, there's all different types of, I guess, implications. We consider personality, interest in work, and we make those decisions based off of the information we get throughout the interview and application process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Flannery, do you want to answer how you selected your host sites? And then, or I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I just said that I really wanted to be at a place where I was doing on the ground work, and that I was really passionate about abortion rights in particular and that piece of reproductive justice. And so I was placed based on that. I don't think Pro-Choice Ohio was even in my top 3, but I said in my interview that I didn't have I wasn't connected to the 3 specifically that I put as long as it was those considerations. And I really, really adored Cleveland. I really loved Pro-Choice Ohio as an org. It was really great getting to do so I've like spent time living in the deep south as well as New England, and it was really great to have someplace that was kind of in between those kind of attitudes for doing organizing work, because you have this basis of people there who are kind of going to be able to support you, and other people who are like doing the work in that region, but there's still places to go. And that was really cool to be a part of.
I was just gonna add, I think I was placed at the doula project. That was my first choice. Sister Song was my second choice. I don't remember my third choice. And I was placed with my first choice, but at the time I had just finished a birth worker training, so I really chose based on my personal current experience. Like I really like coming from out of that training, I really wanted to do like birth work. So that was my first choice. Whereas now, post collective power, I'm actually working at my second choice. And I'm not doing anything that has to do with birth work. And there's actually a birth work department at our org. And I'm more in a programmatic role. So I would say look, I mean, I think you should absolutely choose based on like your current interests. But you have like so much time, and I mean, I would think depending on maybe like if you have a niche, stay in, like it's absolutely perfect to stay in your niche if you know that's really where you thrive. But maybe your priority is to have an org that you can have your hands in a few pots. And I know like an org is also bigger than your role there at the internship. So even just maybe you're going somewhere that may not like what you may not like the intern task, but you want to network and get to know people who are on staff for later. So like equal, both are equally important, but also I would say not overthink the decision, because I think I'm like you can spend time on that website like moving between priority of things, and just reminding you that the options are really endless. Like I said, I currently work at my second choice option, so it really you don't like the repro orgs are very small. Everybody jumps between organizations in their career, so we all know each other, and you will still be a part of that community. um, and I was gonna say location for sure is a factor, but I don't think it was a factor at the time because I was like free something like a free not free housing but supported housing. I could make it work. um, um, yeah, I mean my cohort ended up being virtual anyway, so if I had picked New York for a location, I didn't go anyway. But yeah, so that would just be like it's a big decision, but it's also not going to silo you in one location or another. And I'm only 3 years post collective power. Who's to say where I'll be in 5 or 10?
Thank you so much for all the info.
And thank you to Justina and Janessa for doing their thing and making sure that these host sites are up to par and going to support these interns and give them opportunities, experience, and space. Thank y'all. And also, Aura, I love that you said that because my next question, I don't know if anyone else has a question, but my next question for the interns was going to be like, what's next for y'all? What are y'all's next steps?
That's a really easy question. Totally. Um, I'm finishing up. I think I mentioned this already, but yeah, I'm finishing up school. And I have this one last year left, and I will hopefully be applying to some grassroots organizing positions at nonprofits as the spring comes around and there are positions opening up. And I am definitely I had such a good experience doing repro work that that is definitely top of the list for the kinds of orgs I'm gonna look for. So, and I'm working on projects while I'm here at school as well surrounding it. My boss at Pro-Choice Ohio helped me get started on like a video campaign, like making TikToks about abortion access in different places. And so I'm trying to keep that work going and just do stuff while I'm here in this community as well.
Okay, I finally am sitting down somewhere. It was a trek, it was a journey, but there's a band in front of me and they're sound checking, but they're not loud and it's really good. So what's next for me? Well, I like to say that I'm microdosing in law school, which is getting a paralegal certificate, as I have a full ride to law school because I'm not paying for that. Especially if I have to sit and listen to the American justice system and how like moral failings are okay because they're legal. So, so currently I'm actively looking for a job. So if you know any repo awards that are hiring, even if it's like legal repo jobs, because the skills that I learned as a paralegal are translatable to just about anything. So I'm even in like a legal technology class, so I'm getting like actual certificates about, you know, technologies like Outlook, Teams, PowerPoint, Word. So I have like the proficiency to say like, I know this enough to do this for an attorney, and attorneys do a lot. So that's something that I'm actively looking for. I know about Black Remote Chi and Idealist, and I've just been applying like crazy to those orgs that are present there, just waiting for them to hear back. A cool non-work, non-school related thing. I am trying to put together like an anthology of poetry that I'm writing, and maybe even writing like a novel of some sort. I do have a 50-book reading goal. I'm like 12 books behind. They're all fiction books by Black women. I can put my Goodreads in the comments, so if any of y'all want to read some of the books, you're all for it. If you want to see me live tweet about the books, where I'm just like, oh no, she didn't. Like you can follow me on that regard. But reading my books, enjoying myself, finding a job, and just like putting in my application for like, you know, different fellowships. I thought about being a Fulbright scholar, but I'm like, yeah, that's asking for too much. Maybe another time. So I'm just living my life because again, capitalism is the fastest way to die, and I'm not going to think about my life and the value it has to the capitalist machine, especially with the earth burning and whatever. So, and also planning my birthday trip to Cuba. I know they're going to question me, but I'll play it cool and listen to it. But now they're playing music.
Yes, to staying in the repro world. I hope that those endeavors come to fruition soon. I hope that something comes through for the both of y'all. Does anyone else have a question?
I actually have a question. Flannery, like you kind of spoke to this a little bit already, but what were some of the regional differences you noticed, like being in Ohio, not having experience being in Ohio and living there over the summer? Like, what were some of the things that like you took away about like the particular area, and I guess some similarities, which you noted, and maybe some differences as well. And was that a big learning curve for you, and as a part of your experience?
I have a lot of experience, I think, kind of moving around just in terms of like having already made such a big move across the country for school. So that's kind of thing really excites me, and I really like traveling. So it wasn't really a learning curve so much as just like really fun. And I told everyone there, all of my friends were like, okay, we live in Ohio. And I was like, guys, I'm the biggest Ohio fan now. I'm literally going to come back to Massachusetts and tell everyone Ohio is so great. And Cleveland was a really great city. People there were really nice. I've only lived both when I was in the South and when I'm here, I'm in a pretty rural area. And it was really nice to experience living in kind of a smaller city instead. I don't have a lot of other differences. The one thing that did surprise me in terms of Midwesterners supposedly being very polite is I one time got a note on my car that said, learn how to park. So that wasn't very friendly. Otherwise, people there were really good to me. And it was a really fun place. There was a lot of events going on. That's like something I was getting used to as well. You know, coming from a small town, I kind of feel like there's events on my campus, but it's because I'm on a college campus. I forget that you can live places where things happen. That's crazy. So getting to explore and go to all of these different places was really cool. Yeah, I don't know, not many other thoughts. I think I would have had to spend longer there to really get kind of pulled into the entire culture of the area, but I had a good time.
I love that you love Ohio, even though you've interned at an organization that does such like heavy work in Ohio. I love this for you. Yes, I love our internship. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying I love things, but does anyone else have a question?
I was just wondering for Christina Flannery, and thank you for sharing about your experiences this summer. It was really so great to hear from both of you and just like hear the highlights and challenges, the nasty note that you got, like everything, because it just is you get a really great sense of what it was like. I was just wondering, like, if you are looking to stay in like Philadelphia or go back to Mississippi, or like if you are like thinking about geography when you're thinking about your next steps.
I was actually in Miami. I've never actually been to Mississippi. The closest to Mississippi I've been has been Alabama. I moved around a lot. Like I've lived in Philly, I lived in Baltimore, I lived in Florida, I lived in North Carolina for college, I lived in Korea for a year, I lived in Taiwan for a month, South Africa for a month. So I've been around. Like, Carmen, where is Christine today? Like, it's the point where my niece is like, where's Auntie Christine? Is she traveling again? So it's like I'm always down to check out new things. I'm very friendly and extroverted and always willing to like try something new. To the points where I literally lived in Korea with no knowledge of Korean for a year, which was great. I know enough to communicate with a small child, but that's helpful in order food. But I'm always down for a new adventure somewhere to learn a new thing because I'm a direct and curious and person that just loves learning. And I think sometimes being in a place is a really good way to learn. Like I would have never known that people in Ohio are like passive aggressively polite with a note. Learn how to park. Oh, that's better than someone hitting your car. Like, I mean, I take a nice nasty note on a sticky note over someone leaving a dent in your car to prove a point. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, I was just annoyed because it was a sticker on my windshield and I had to peel it off to drive home. Um, but yeah, I'm really open to going to a lot of different places. I feel like I really love to travel and I would love to spend some time internationally, but I feel like my work is really in the US. So wherever I feel that, and I'm passionate about doing that work, and I feel that I will end up wherever I can find a good way to do it. I really liked Cleveland. I would totally go back there. I do want to be maybe in a city for my own like well-being. Same with I would generally go anywhere within the US. I am not looking to go back to Mississippi or the South personally, which is kind of tragic. There's a lot of work to be done there. But I think I thought a lot about this, and I have a lot of people asking me to come back there and do the work there. But I think that it is easier for me to live in a different place, which makes it easier for me to keep myself sustained enough to do this. And so I'm kind of prioritizing that over it. If I'm surviving, then I can actually work on this kind of thing. I would make an exception for like Atlanta or something like that, but some kind of mid-sized city somewhere where there's work going on that I can join in on. But I'm kind of happy to go anywhere.
If you find yourself in New York City, Flannery, I'm here so we can connect. Does anyone else have any questions? Janessa says, how did y'all care for yourself while you did this work? That is a good question.
I screamed and cried because I'm a big crybaby. And I bought ice cream sandwiches. I had what I call ice cream days because there were times where I just had to go, bless your heart. And that's what you say in the South when you have absolutely nothing nice to say. Like, absolutely nothing nice to say. I was like, bless your heart. I'm going to go get an ice cream sandwich. And no, I'm not going to offer you one because you made me want to get an ice cream sandwich. You think about what you did and why you weren't able to get an ice cream sandwich. I went to the beach I cried in the ocean. I cried under palm trees and wrote poetry about crying underneath the palm trees and how hard it is because all you have to do is look up to feel better. And you're like, wow, that's pretty. I ate a lot of mangoes. The people are after me with the amount of mangoes that I ate. You would have thought I had a mango tree in the backyard, which I did. I skateboarded all throughout the suburbs that I lived in because I was staying with my friend for a short period of time. So I skateboarded and sweated and got caught in the Florida rain, which wasn't an inconvenience because Florida rain is really warm on your skin. So it feels like a nice little let it rain and clear it out, like a little chicken noodle soup situation. So it was a nice little chicken noodle soup for my soul. I wrote letters of gratitude to myself. At the time, I had a girlfriend, so I would talk to her about it. And I also would just like crack jokes with my kids because kids are funny. I don't care what nobody says. Kids are funny. They just got here. So they're just telling you their observations and stuff. And it just allows you to go, that's so funny. I wish I could think like that again. Like, that is so cute. I called my niece. So there were a lot of like external, my internal things that I did because I couldn't talk to my therapist because she's based in Philly and I was in Florida and, HIPAA and all that. So I was able to really calm myself and everything. So yeah.
I find that telling people other things and then laughing about it makes me feel a lot better. Like I just have to it's like going around in my head. I just have to tell people and then laugh. Like I tell people in a very lighthearted way. So it was a lot of like screenshotting what people would say to me when I was text banking about being a baby killer and then being like, you guys will making friends and being like, you guys will never believe what this person responded with to me with today, or you'll never believe the lie that this crisis pregnancy center told me today. And then it's funny, and then it's very funny. Yeah, I remember I was staying with some family friends there, and like my host dad said something about I don't know how you deal with all of those people like either hanging up on you. I was doing a lot of text and phone banking for an election, and he said, I don't know how you deal with all those people like hanging up on you or texting you back mean things. And I just remember thinking, I think you should try being a woman for one day of your life. You won't feel that way or you'll know what it's like. But if you can laugh about it, then that's all you need to do.
I love that. We have screaming, ice cream, letting it out. I love it. I love it. Definitely a range of self-care. You gotta do what works for you. Thank y'all for being so transparent and honest with those answers. Does anyone else have a question? Like, if anyone does, it'll be the last question. And if not, we can just wrap up. No. All right, well, I guess we will wrap. Thank y'all so much for
Can I say something right quick, Renee? Sorry. Oh, no, I just want to say that like this year and this program and these interns were so amazing, and it's just honestly a privilege to hear about your experiences, Flannery and Christine. So thank you for taking the time to share and to educate us as well about the issues you all dealt with every single day over the course of the summer. And we feel lucky to be connected to you all in this way. So yeah, best of luck on your future endeavors.
I'm gonna just plus one everything Justina said. That was a lovely wrap up. Thank y'all for being amazing. Thank y'all for going on this journey, sharing your experience with us and just being present. If anyone in the audience would like to continue to support these interns, I will send you a follow-up email tomorrow morning with a link to our donation page. Just the easiest way to keep this good stuff flowing. Otherwise, I hope y'all have a lovely night. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.